So, if you've clicked on this video, you might be wondering, is a Disney World trip even worth it at this point?
Just a bit of Texie dust.
So if you're a gal like me, you just absolutely love watching all the vloggers and the Disney World videos, DFB Guide, Disney Food Blog, Walt Disney World News, all the fun stuff and information. It just looks so exciting. But is a Walt Disney World trip really for you or your family? There's so much to look at these days. Number one being price. I'm not going to lie. The price for a family of 4 to go to all 4 theme parks and stay 5 nights at the resorts at this point, even with a really good deal, I just don't know that me and my husband would have ever taken that first trip. Probably. But it would have taken a lot longer to save up for it, and we wouldn't have been able to take his mom with us. Our first family trip was in 2010. There were 5 of us. We took grandma with us. La in this case. But I just don't know that we would make that choice these days. Price being part of it. The second part is the rising cost of not just the tickets, but the food as well. On our first trip, we were given a free dining plan. Yes, that is still available. But the kicker to it is then you don't get a discount on your room. Back when we were given the free dining plan, we had already had a discounted room on that as well. And we were told right before we left on our trip that if we wanted to upgrade it from free quick service to dining, it was only going to be $200 for all 5 of us. Like, that was a deal you could get in 2010. You cannot get that deal today. If you get the free dining plan, then your room is going to be full rack rate. If you get the room discount, then are you going to do quick service the whole time? Are you going to pay full price for those fancy character meals? Character breakfast at this point is $59 for breakfast with the characters. That's fine and dandy when it's a few of us or it's adults that can all kick in. But if you're a family taking 2 or 3 kids, children are $49 a person, and that's to the age of 9. If they're over 9, they're the adult price on food, guys. When I say price, it's every little place is where the price has risen. Now, the flip side to that, of course, is we went to Nashville, and that cost us just as much money as a Disney World trip. Not gonna lie. When Bob Iger compares it to other event tickets, other sporting events, concerts, it's in line. It is, especially for all-day event theme park tickets. Which, let's be honest, how many of you dream of a Walt Disney World vacation, but you're not even theme park people? Like, if you don't enjoy going to your local theme park all day long, you're probably not going to enjoy Disney World. It's much fancier. It's definitely run better than your local theme park. But if you don't enjoy the heat and outdoors and exciting rides or kiddie rides, if you don't enjoy all of that, I hope you enjoy the music or the characters. Like, if none of that sounds appealing, then don't go to Disney World just because you like Disney movies or for some unknown reason you just feel like it's what you have to do with your family now that you have a family. No, not necessarily. I think a lot of families are also put off by, people like me. I am approaching my 50th birthday, yet every vacation I choose to go to Disney World. And I'm there without small children, folks. On this next trip, it's me, my hubby, my 26-year-old son, and my mom, who is approaching 75. None of us are kids. Now, taking mom and meeting the characters, it's a bit like having a kiddo with us. It's always fun. She always traces their hands. I'm my mom's caretaker, so that part is still there. And it is a wonderful place for people who still qualify for the DOS pass. But that's something else to talk about. If you have disabilities in your family, and they're not necessarily cognitive disabilities, Disney World has changed the wording on their policy recently, but I don't know how much success people have had getting the DOS pass. So that might be something to look into. If your family isn't going to qualify for it, then you may not at all want to go to Disney World. If you think you need that help and you're not going to get it, then I definitely take it off the list. Because here's the other thing, guys. Dollywood is actually the top rated theme park in the world. Or in our country anyway. So maybe Dollywood is more your style. If you just want the roller coasters and a smaller theme park, one theme park, that kind of thing, maybe you want to go to Pigeon Forge. See Dollywood. I don't know. I'm just saying that sometimes a Disney World vacation isn't what everyone thinks it is. There are huge lines. Even if you learn all the tips and tricks in the world. Like on the vacation that we took my daughter and her best friend that she grew up with, we rope dropped Hollywood Studios. We went straight to Rise of Resistance. And we missed all the pre-show and they walked us into the hangar. If you know what I'm talking, the hangar scene with all of the stormtroopers, we just walked right in there instead of the whole pre-show and everything. So we did everything right. And yeah, we got onto the ride with no line. But the ride experience was kind of ruined. So, and we did not go back to it later in the day. The line gets too long. And when there are 5, 6 people in the trip, we're not buying Lightning Lane. So, and that's something else to talk about. Lightning Lane. Do you even know what I'm talking about? Exactly. Going to Disney World is like learning a whole new language. There is so much planning. You need to know that you make reservations for everything 60 days out. You can plan your trip a year and a half in advance. Put $200 down, pay it out till 30 days before your trip. That's how it can fit into your budget for some people, is paying it out like it's a bill over a year time span before you go. Great. But I don't remember where I was going with that.
A few moments later.
Anyway, oh, okay. Even just talking about it makes me lose my train of thought and go all blah, 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 blah. Guys, going to Disney World is just learning a whole new everything. You can book your trip in a certain way, and then once your trip's booked and you're 60 days from your trip, you have to know to get dining reservations if you want them. Do you even want them for some of the restaurants that are kind of really fancy priced? There's just so much to think about. There's all kinds of extras that you might not be aware of if it's your first trip. There are dessert parties. There are safaris at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. There's nighttime fireworks cruises in the summer sometimes. There's just so much that you may not know about even if you're watching the videos and learning the secrets. There's just so much to Disney World. So you might decide, sure, I definitely want to do this no matter the price. But I don't want to learn all that. Well, that's easy. You get a travel agent. You get a travel agent. I am not a travel agent. I don't know any. But it does not cost you to use a travel agent to travel to Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World covers all that. And they will make your reservations for you. They will explain what lightning lanes are. It's fast passes for the rides, express pass to get onto the rides a little faster. There's different tiers of lightning lanes. There's multi-passes. There's premium lightning lane, which is more of like a $400 to $500 service where you can just go to any ride once per day in the theme park you're in, that kind of thing. I mean, there's just so many ins and outs to planning a trip that you might just want to use a travel agent. I keep umming. Sorry, guys. I'm not a speaker. I would say the other thing that some people do not think about is the weather in Florida, whether that be The rainy season, which honestly between 3 and 5 every day could be a rainy season in Florida. Um, it's the heat. I was there in January once and it was the literal freezing cold weather and wind. You are outdoors for your vacation. Do you like being outdoors? Are you physically ready to do the amount of steps it takes to enjoy this? Google the words Disney rash. This is from people walking every day, thousands upon thousands of steps. You will get a rash on your ankles that will pop up. There's just, I suffered an injury in 2019. That's when I discovered I had plantar fasciitis. I nearly snapped my little plantar muscle walking so much while I was at Disney World. So it's also part of why I've done it so much since I turned 43 years old. In the last 6 years, I've gone more than any other time period because I kind of know that physically it's winding down. It's been 6 months since my last trip, and I am just now physically ready to even think about it and get excited about it and be ready for it. I'm a stay-at-home wife. I walk my dog every day. I keep my house clean. I keep up with stuff. So I feel like I'm in pretty darn good shape for 49 going on 50. But Disney World tests every bit of it, especially with the asthma. Which brings me to my next point. Do you have medical restraints you need to think about that do not fall under the disability pass at Walt Disney World? Any type of mobility issue is not something they would consider for a disability pass because that's something you can fix with a scooter to them. And they'll rent you a scooter. So mobility issues are not something they're going to consider. So if you have mobility issues and you don't want to use a scooter, you might not want to go to Disney World. If you have mobility issues and you do use a scooter, just remember how crowded it is at Disney World. I have had to use a scooter before there. I have used a powered wheelchair there. On my last trip, I went in November and my asthma was totally uncontrolled. I mean, my energy level was at nothing. So I used the powered wheelchair that we have to get around the parks because I wanted to have fun at the Christmas parties, even though I could barely breathe. That's an extreme, but I'm a Disney adult. I want to be there for those things, so I will push myself to do it. If you're not that type of person, you may not want to push yourself to physically be in Florida with the humidity, the heat, 70, 80% of the year, just horrible heat. The crowds, there is no off season. Let's be very, very clear about that. That is another point to Disney World. Cons against it, right? There's no off season. People will tell you, well, September when the kids come. No, that's when it's cheaper. I always go when it's cheaper, guys. It's always cheaper in May. It's before kids get out of school at the end of the school year when people don't want to take their kids out at the end of the year. It's always cheaper. It's always cheaper in September for the same reasons, but it's the start of the school year. But guys, it's still busy. It's still busy. It's still crowded. If you have a problem with crowds, guys, you don't want to go to Disney World. I mean, it might be a dream. I have a problem with crowds. I use Disney World as my carrot, though. I love the dark rides. I love kiddie rides. I don't necessarily just go all out for roller coasters, unless they're baby coasters like Slinky Dog Dash. I love that. But like Rock and Roller Coaster, I don't ride every time. So I'm not into local theme parks at all. They're like Fiesta, Texas is a few hours away from us, and I've been there plenty of times. I'm a purse holder. I hold the purses while everyone rides the rides because I'm not going to ride the roller coasters. So that's part of why I will push myself to go to Disney World. I always want a trip on the books going back to Disney World because I do have my own medical issues. So does my mom. That's what I take care of 24/7 every day of the week, all the time. So Disney World is special to me, and it's worth the crowds and the such. But I'm also a Disney adult. Like, I kind of consider myself an expert on my trips. Like, I don't use a travel agent because I know how I want to book my trips. And I know how the website works really well. So I know how to put the $200 down and pay it out until we're ready to go and get all my reservations. I enjoy doing all that stuff. So for me, Disney World is a fantastic trip. It like checks all the boxes. I get to plan, plan, plan. And I know exactly what I'm getting when I get there. Am I getting up early to rope drop so I can get on some rides and enjoy that early park entry perk of being on resort? Yep. But I'm also going to take a break in the middle of the day so that I can enjoy them low crowds at the end of the night also. Like, that's my perfect kind of trip. We're also doing 2 parks, not all 4. There are 4 parks, guys. There's the original Magic Kingdom, then there was Epcot, then there was Hollywood Studios, and then lastly in 1998, Animal Kingdom. So there are 4 parks. We are only doing Hollywood Studios for May the 4th be with us, and then we're going to go to Magic Kingdom. My son was kind of interested in doing Animal Kingdom. He hasn't done it in years. He's not seen Pandora. But he also kind of realized he doesn't want a half-day park. He wants a full day since we're only doing 2 parks. So we are going to do Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom because right now that kind of feels like the best, bang for your buck. Is Thunder Mountain Railroad closed? Yep. And if you're not an experienced Disney World, you're like, what? You might plan the most perfect trip in the world. Your kids want to ride certain rides. And if you didn't check the refurbishment schedule, that ride could be closed. Another con to Disney World. I've also never stayed at a resort that was under refurbishment at Disney World. But I've also never stayed at a Disney World resort where they weren't working when I stayed there. Catch what I said there? They were never officially under refurbishment. But every time I've ever stayed at a Disney World resort, they're doing something. They're painting something. They've got a walkway blocked off because they're always doing something at the resorts. That's why the resorts are as fantastic as they are. So that's a pro and a con. That's why Molly from Mammoth Club always says, have your paint your pants. You have to have patience to go to Walt Disney World. If you're not a patient person, if the idea of queuing up and standing in line, even with whatever passes you will have some lines, guys. Food, the stores, somewhere there will be getting in and out of the parks. There will be lines on transportation. So patience. Be kind to cast members. If the trip doesn't align to what was in your mind, don't take it out on them. I mean, think about it. It's not their fault that this is the reality of the situation. And just always remember, there's always the reality versus what you see online. I make videos while I'm there for my memories and such. Like, you can go watch all my ride videos and such. It looks great. But some of those times I'm just exhausted and tired, and I've had to take care of my mom that day and something might have gone wrong. So you just never know what everyone around you's dealing with. And it is a theme park, and it's so many people. I cannot stress how crowded it is. There is no off season, guys. There just isn't. Also, you watch all those videos. We're talking about the reality versus the videos. You watch DFB Food Guide. You see this food that you want to eat, and you don't realize that Disney rotates their menus so often. You never know when a restaurant's going to get a new menu. Seasonally, the snacks are changing constantly. Every month, there's a new cupcake or a this or it. So if you get your heart set on, say, a Blondie bar at a certain place, it might not be there when you get there. I used to love the little oatmeal cream pie at Hollywood Studios backlot service, quick service meal. They ruined it. They changed it. It went from being a soft, gooey oatmeal cookie to this thick, dry, tastes like a sugar cookie, even if they call it an oatmeal cookie. It just isn't as good. So there is a reality between what you're seeing on the Instagram with all these foods and what you're actually getting. Now, having said that, meal-wise, when I have sat down and paid for the Disney dining meals at a restaurant there, I have always been happy. The food to me, but I live in a small town. I don't have access to a great deal of what you would in a bigger city. If you live in a big city, you might not like Orlando at all. I love going to Orlando because there's so many restaurants I can't get at home, even if I'm not in Disney. Because, like I said, my favorite trip now is I go to one park, I rest. I go to another park, I rest. That's my trip, guys. That's how I have made the vacation relaxing. Because, for your family members that are going from work to a Disney trip back to work, those are the folks you really need to worry about. Like, that is difficult. There is so much walking. You're not going to be rested from your vacation. You're going to come back from Disney wanting a vacation from your vacation. So, is it something you want to do? I don't know. I keep going back, but isn't that the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. My thing is, I am obviously an outgoing, kind of bubbly, I look at the cup half full kind of person. So I find a way to have fun. Even like our first trip there with the whole family, the first day we were there, it did nothing but rain while we were at Epcot. We still had fun. We put our ponchos on and got goofy. Like, we looked like drowned rats in our photos when we had dinner with Belle at Ashgersh Castle, but it was still a blast. And that's the kind of attitude you have to go into a theme park setting, to go into the resort settings. Even the resorts are crowded. If you go to any of the monorail resorts, if you're staying at those top end resorts, I've never stayed at. It's not in my budget. But if you're staying there, they're busy. They're on the monorail. Tons of people are going in and out, even that are not staying there. So that's something else to think about. But Disney has value resorts, moderate resorts, deluxe resorts, Disney vacation resorts. They have a vacation club. So there's just so many levels. That's what they mean when they talk about there's a Disney for every budget. Well, I'll tell you that we've always tried to keep the budget the same. I mean, it's grown, as inflation grows, but we've tried to keep it the same for 4 people when we go on trips for 4 people. And that's part of why we do 2 days now and not 3 or 4. Because that's what's in our budget. And I don't know if that's something that's going to keep people coming back. And of course, one of the other things to talk about is the Disney adults like myself. For many people, that ruins the experience. And I'll tell you right now, they talk about Disneyland being a locals park. Walt Disney World has a huge, huge pass holder fan base as well. On your trip, there will be adults all around you with no children. If this is going to set you off, don't go on the trip. Because it's a good mix, like 70% families, 30 to 40% maybe not. It might be a 60-40 split, not a 70-30. I've never looked at the numbers. But I do know that us folks without the little kids tend to spend a whole lot more money because we are older and have the disposable income. And so Disney isn't going to get rid of us. Because I know so many parents are like, why do they let people in without kids? And it's like, because it's run by a corporation that wants the money, money, money. That's why. So, if the whole idea of a Disney adult just makes you, number one, you're not watching this video, but don't go to Disney World. That's all I can say. There are different types of trips. There's staying in the bubble at the resort using the transportation. And then there's driving your own car there, staying off resort, going to the theme parks, paying for party. There's just so much to look at. It's overwhelming. And I just don't know, if I weren't a huge Disney fan who became a parks fan in 2006 and started going on trips every 4 to 5 years while the kids were younger, and then got to experience it on my own as an adult and just get to do it as much as I want and have fun, I don't know that I would choose it now, if that makes any sense. Like, I've been doing it so long, like, it's me. I'm a Disney adult. My house is covered in Disney. I have a wardrobe where I can Disney bound like that. I have the accessories, all of it, right? That's me. It's very easy for me to throw together a Disney World trip. I don't even have to do all the planning. Like, if I don't care about going to the restaurants, I can plan a trip for tomorrow, get there and do it, no matter how crowded it is. But that's me. These are huge investments for some people. It can get outrageous. My biggest thing is look at the good neighbor hotels versus value resorts. Check out which one's going to be your better price. And remember that at a value resort, you won't be paying for parking. But if you stay at a good neighbor hotel, you will be. You might have resort fees also. There's just stuff to look into to decide which one is your best value. There's just so many different ways to make it happen. Like I said, one of the biggest things is if you know a year and a half in advance and you can put the $200 down and then make monthly payments on it. That's how a great deal of people make a trip happen every year, year and a half. So there are ways to make it happen. I'm just saying be realistic about everything involved. The planning that it does take, or deciding to give that over to a travel agent. And if you do give it over to a travel agent, you still need to understand enough to know how Disney transportation works. There's buses, there's boats, there's a Skyliner, there's a monorail. Guys, Disney World and their 4 parks, all their resorts, are bigger than the size of Manhattan. It's a big, huge place. You may not realize that. There's a lot that goes into planning the trip. And I don't know that Disney is offering the same value that they offered back in 2006, 2010, when my family got hooked on it. I don't know if we were a young family right now, looking at what it costs versus what you get, I don't know that I would make the trip. But if you're a young family and you can afford it, and your kids absolutely adore the characters and want to see them, and you think they can handle a theme park, they're old enough to handle even getting in and out of the stroller and all the steps in and off of rides, all of that, then maybe it is worth it. But I think that some people do a Disney World trip kind of like it's a check mark in life. We got married, we had kids, we went to Disney World. And there just might be something else out there that you prefer. I know when I was young, my family went to a bunch of caves. We loved to go spelunking. Spelunking. Anyway, there's just a lot to take in, and whether or not you think your family is a fit for a Disney World vacation. I can't speak on a Disneyland vacation in California because I've never been. My choices on that are I've never driven out to California, and I'm not real good on a route I've never done before. I had been to Florida. My husband had driven it. I now drive it on my own, but I had a few times where I didn't, and then I did it. I have never been out to California, so the prices in California are more. There are no value resorts in California. Only good neighbor hotels. But I will say everything is smaller. The 2 parks are smaller. They're right next to each other and walkable. That is not true in Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World, every single park is a 10-minute drive from the other park. That's why learning Disney transportation is important, because you really need to think about if you're in a certain park that day, you probably don't want to eat at a different resort that's nowhere near that park. If you're at Magic Kingdom, you might want to eat at some of the resorts that are on the monorail because those are real easy to get to. But if you are going to the water parks, let's say, you don't go from your resort on a bus straight to the water park. You take a bus to Disney Springs, their shopping district, and then you go to their bus hub, grab a bus over to the water park from there. So learning transportation is something. If all of this just sounds so very overwhelming, then maybe just a beach vacation would be way more relaxing. I'm just saying, think about the investment before you make a choice, and really truly think about if you'll really get the enjoyment out of it that you think you will. Because I guarantee you, all the vloggers you're watching know the little spots to go to in the park to take their little videos, and it's crowded as hell. They also may be there right at park opening or the last hour or two before the park closes, not the whole day. They're pass holders. Like, it's just a very different experience to travel from out of state and go to Disney World than it is to be someone who lives there in Orlando going all the time. So realize you're not going to get everything done in one trip. It's why I'm obsessive about going back all the time. I enjoy marking stuff off my little Disney bucket list. And I mean, there are so many hotels, and I've never eaten at even all the resorts yet, much less stayed at all of them. So it's fun. I don't know. It's a fun hobby to go back to for me. I can't explain why I'm a Disney adult. I mean, hurt inner child? I don't know. Probably. But I love it. So for me, I mean, I've taken trips where I've gone on a Friday, driven there, like left Thursday night, drove there Friday, stayed the night Friday, went to the park on Saturday, rested on Sunday, and drove back. Little 3-day trips. So that's how much that place means to me. I love it. If you do not, if you have no connection to Disney, if you don't have children, why do it? It's a lot. It's a lot. So I see both sides, I guess, is what I am saying. Is it getting too pricey? Absolutely. You have to pick and choose now and be very careful about what you want to do. We are going for May the 4th. We have saved up for May the 4th specifically. To build a lightsaber is very expensive. And my husband and my son are going to do that. But it is a special event for us. So we're going to invest in it. But it may not be fun for you to go see Star Wars Land and know you can't build a lightsaber because you don't have the money for it. And you can't do the lightning lanes, and then all the lines are really long. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have the budget for it, maybe now is not the time for the trip. So there's just lots of pros and cons to think about. And, you know, you may, if you're watching this video, though, I'll be honest, you've probably thought about the trip a lot and you may be ready for it. So who knows? I think Disney World brings value to the people who see the value in it. And if you're not one of those folks, then perhaps investing in a Disney World trip is not for you.
Hey! Come back, wherever you are!